Hello, my name is Dr. Clayton Simon, and today for our medical moment, I want to talk about anal sacs. Dogs and cats have structures next to their rectum, which is the anal sac. It is, if you were to picture the anus as the face of a clock, there's an opening at either side, about 3 o'clock and over here at 9 o'clock. The opening is very small. It's about the size of a ballpoint pen. And behind that opening, the sac, depending on the size of the pet, could be as small as the tip of my finger or as big as the end of my thumb. A foul, nasty smelling material is produced inside the anal sac, which typically is secreted when the animals defecate. In the wild, there are animals who use this structure for marking territory and also for defense. Think a skunk. The trouble is that sometimes the anal gland does not become emptied when the animals defecate. It can become overly full, causing irritation or inflammation. And that is what is referred to as an impacted anal gland. What's worse is that sometimes the anal gland can become infected with a bacterial infection. And in either case, either the infection can progress or the fullness, the impaction can progress to the point where the anal gland actually ruptures. So there's the anus, that's the opening of the sac, and this is the sac in schematic form. Of course, that would be below the skin and within the muscles of the rectum. If the gland were overly full, it might look like this, puffy and inflamed, or if it were infected, it could look like this. And the real pain in the backside occurs should it rupture, because if the sac is overly full and ruptures, then that anal gland material is released under the skin, and the body hates that, causing a draining tract to form next to the rectum. It's very painful for our pets. So the question is, how would you know and what can you do about it? An indication that your pet is having trouble with their anal glands might be if they're looking over their shoulder trying to chew at their rectum, or if they're scooching their rectum across the ground. That's one way they try to relieve themselves. I've been amazed over the years at the power of the anal gland to change a pet's behavior. Sometimes it's quite obvious when they're scooting, but I have had pets with all kinds of odd behaviors, darting through the house, not wanting to walk on certain carpets or tiles of the floor. I had one pet that was racing through the house to the backyard, hiding under the bushes. And the client's interpretation was that she was afraid there was a ghost in the house that the dog was afraid of. I thought it was full of anal glands. And after we expressed them, the dog felt better and the ghost was gone and the dog felt better. So if you're brave, you can attempt to express your pet's anal glands yourself at home. This is not for the faint of heart. Pets, at minimum, it's going to be uncomfortable and they're going to squirm. At worst, it could hurt and they could turn around and bite you. I would not recommend you try this with your own cat. They never appreciate having their anal glands expressed, though sometimes it needs to be done. But there's basically two ways to express an anal gland. There's what's called the outside way and the other is the inside way. Groomers and folks that give pets baths routinely often do what I call the outside way. And if you can imagine that this is the, let's not have an abscess one. If you can imagine that this is the rectum, you take a pet's tail and you lift their tail, then their rectum sort of pooches out a little bit. And if you take your hands like the letter C and you put it on either side of their rectum and you squeeze and then pull out, squeezing from deep to shallow, you can, quote, milk that debris out of the gland and it will come out into your hand. You might want to wear a glove and cover the rectum with a paper towel so that you're releasing that debris into the paper towel. Now, sometimes when you do that motion, you might get a bunch of debris or you might get nothing. And if you get nothing, you might say to yourself, well, the anal gland is already empty, there's nothing there. The problem is that sometimes this external technique isn't sufficient force or pressure to empty a very full or an anal gland that's full of thick debris. So there are times, and that's what we do here at the office, that you have to do what we call the internal approach. And essentially we put on a glove and we lubricate the end of our finger with KY jelly. We put our finger into the rectum and feel precisely where is that gland so that we're putting pressure just on the gland and squeezing from deep to shallow. Now when you do this, you might be surprised at how far you can launch anal gland material around your home. You might want to do this outside and wear your grubbies, and I would definitely keep your mouth shut during the process. I'm just saying. Preferably you cover it with a paper towel so you're not squirting stuff around the room. But then the harder part is to get the other side, because the left side you can do like this, the right side you have to flip over and do like that. But that's the more direct way to empty anal glands. You might say to yourself, heck no, I'm not doing that, and you're welcome to bring your pet here to Marina Hills. Us professionals would be glad to help keep your pet's anal glands cared for.